Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mask of the Plague Doctor stream. Today I will be reading Chapter 5. Pew, boom, boom, dun, 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 dun. Probably nobody's here, but hi, whoever's watching in post. Hope you enjoy the story. Mask of the Plague Doctor by Peter Parrish. Chapter 5: Crisis and Conspiracy. You lie upon a velvet soft meadow, the gentle warmth of the sun soothing your face, your body anchored to the earth by the comforting pull of relaxed muscles, shoulders loose and supple. Bird songs drifting from distant hedgerows, the hushed sway of leaves lulling you with their rhythm. You could stay here forever, but for a tickle at your feet. The sensation tugs, dragging its insistent call across your other senses. You tap your foot, trying to shake it off, but the sensation grows. It creeps from your soul, winding its way between your toes up around your ankle, the deep, aching shiver of cold. You open your eyes, stretching beneath the generous covers of Mayor Blake's lavish guest bedroom. The late autumnal morning is struggling to shrug off the darkness. Despite the early hour, you feel more rested than you have in some considerable length of time. Yet, the sensation still nags. Another twinge of cold grips your foot. At some point during the night, you must have kicked off a portion of the lower blankets, leaving your appendages exposed to the room's icy intrusions. Before you can draw your foot back inside the blanketed cocoon, you spy the source of the chill. The window has been left slightly ajar, a narrow crack, inviting the night's freezing grasp inside. You grumble to yourself and pull the sheets tighter. It is to no avail. Your sense of bliss is fading with the warmth. The morning calls. Bracing yourself for a blast of cold, you feel around for your plague doctor robes and perform an inelegant transference of your body from blankets to clothing. Your breath forms an indistinct cloud in the air as you shamble over to the window, sealing it at last. Through the dull green glass, you see a dense fog hanging over the central lawn. It sits heavy in the space between the ring of expensive homes. Something else catches your eye. You peer closer. There's a shape in the fog, moving, gesturing, or perhaps signaling for aid. Charity compels me to act. This person might need help. It's freezing out there, has a duty, it's my duty to provide. Being owed by a favor by a local aristocrat may prove useful. I suppose it's up to me to say. This is probably me. I'll help someone, but I ain't gonna be happy about it. But I can't help it, because I'm just a nice person. I suppose it's up to me to save this idiot. Next. You shake your head at the thought of having to save yet another hapless victim from themselves. Typical. May as well get on with it. Snatching up your crow mask from the table beside the bed, you give the tousled blankets a final longing look, then head out into the corridor. Fortunately, you can recall the route to the entrance hall. You linger beside the staircase to the upper floor, waiting for a servant engaged in some early morning dusting to move on. The fewer questions you have to answer about this is the better. As the servant's footsteps disappear into another corridor, you undo the locks of the main door and slip out into the fog. Grab your boots. Recalling the fate of your boots the previous day, you search for them in the dismal light. There's a thin layer of frost on the manor doorstep, biting at your feet. The air is still crisp, a harbinger of winter. You locate your footwear arranged neatly beside a pair of brushes, the muddied bristles tinged with white. You pull them on as fast as you can, cold fingers fumbling with straps and laces. Grass crunches underfoot as you advance into the fog. You look back at the mayor's mansion, attempting to navigate by the window of your guest bedroom. Shrouded by mist, the manor's silhouettes keeps its secrets. There's little choice but to press on across the lawn. You call out, hoping to get the attention of whoever is wandering around out there, but the words stick in your mouth as you feel your foot strike against metal, almost sending you tumbling over. Reaching down, you find the culprit to be one of the hoops from the previous afternoon's game. As you straighten back up, you catch the sight of a shape in the murk. Near, far, the distance is difficult to assess. You pull your hands inside the sleeves of your robes to dull their protest against the cold. Hello? You call out again, adding clouds of your own frost breath to the mist. Do you need help? I'm a doctor. The fog thins, and you see the shape once more, closer now. You see the outline of a cloak, shifting and undulating with the changing density of the mist. Hear a sound like branches glancing against one another. You look around, aware suddenly that the silhouette of the manor has slipped away, lost in the encroaching fog. As you turn back towards the cloaked figure, you hear a rustling to your left. Your mask is knocked asunder. There's a sting at your cheek. Too late, you see the shape swoop away. You hold your hand to your face, feeling a trickle of warmth, and something else. You tug at the object snared into your skin. It comes away from your flesh with ease. A bloodied thorn. If this shape can draw blood, so can I. Whatever this figure is, I should learn as much about its medical physiology as I can. I need to calm my mind. This threat feels mystic in nature. I think I stand my ground. I generally don't give a fuck what the hell happens to me. So, like, if anything crazy happens, I'm just like, the fuck is going on? And I just look. If anything attacks me, I'll definitely fight back, but I stand my ground. Person or deity, this figure won't intimidate me. Yup. Achievement, misconnections, prevail in a foggy encounter. You pucker the thorn and stand tall, doing your best to withstand the gnawing cold. No mist-dwelling creature is going to scare you off with such ease. It takes more than a thorned cloak to spook me, you shout into the fog. I've seen pestilence on a scale beyond imagining. People in agony, taking days to perish. Children suffering in the arms of their ailing parents. Deity or no, compared to such things, your tricks are pathetic. As your words turn to frosted haze, the mist seem to momentarily part. You see the target of your taunts, no longer shrouded by the confounding fog. A human figure, dressed in foliage by human hand, their face concealed by a hood. They hesitate, close to exposure. Then they break, dashing away from your accusations. A return to the shadow of mystery. You give chase, willing your legs into motion, but the fog thickens. Your bearings are lost. You're left adrift on the lawn, searching for the faintest ghost of a landmark. There's a crunch beneath your feet. Stooping, you retrieve a folded piece of parchment, dropped by your enigmatic assailant. Jack the Ripper. Are you over here? A familiar voice reaches your ears. You call back relieved. Their boar mask pierces the fog. I found this and feared the worst, Ayoko says, handing over your crow mask. What possessed you to start roaming around in this fog? You recount your experience and show your colleague the folded parchment. He opens it, tilting his head as he studies the contents. Looks like some kind of directions. See here? There's a mark. I think that's in the old quarter, somewhere south of the tannery. Your teeth chatter as you nod in response. Ayoko puts his arms around your shoulder to guide you. You need to be out of the cold. Come on, this way. How? You stammer out. Did I find you? A little luck, a lifetime on clouded fields of battle, and in the main because a servant informed me. They saw you sneaking out. You pull your robes around you and trudge you back together towards Sybil Blake's residence. Get yourself indoors. Ayoko guides you into a rectangular parlor where Alice attends to a crackling fireplace. Her mask is off and her hair falls free. Small plates of food rest atop a circular table. You stumble across to one of the carved wooden chairs and slip yourself down into its cushioned seating. The heat from the nearby flames start to draw the ache from your bones, at first with an intensity that makes you wince in discomfort. Then with a gentle massage of warmth. Your arrival makes Alice turn from stoking the fire. She sees the blood tracked across your face and looks to Ayoko with some concern. I found our companion out questing in the fog, he says. Apparently he had some kind of run-in with a sentient hedgerow. His face is a mess, Ayoko. Don't joke about this. Barely a scratch. The cold did more harm than the thorns. Thorns? Alice glances at you. Another friend of the dweller, you say, rubbing your hands together for friction, or somebody wishing to give that impression. I'll track down some vinegar for your face, she says, standing. When I get back, you're going to describe exactly what happened. As Alice departs, you feel your empty stomach ripple in complaint. Your body is thawing, uncovering displaced needs beneath the frost. The plates of food are within arm's reach. Oh, you know I'm going to freaking eat everything. I want some of everything. Achievement ravenous. Eat everything. The mayor's breakfast. Yeah, hell yeah. You're shaken and hungry. You need to take advantage of what's here. Wasting no time, you scoop up chunks of salted fish and rip large chunks off of the bread loaf. Ayoko watches as you devour the morsels in a matter of seconds. Yo, sounds like me. There's some cheese, too, if you... Mouthful, you gesture for him to bring the stray plate over. The cheese has a sharp taste, but sits well with the salted fish. You eat it with relish. Hunger sated, you slip back into the comforts of the chair. Ayoko stands with his arms crossed, gazing into the fire. You feel your eyelids begin to droop. The sound of the logs in the fireplace, gentle, popping and spitting, lulls you down. No vinegar, but I found some wine in the cellar. It'll serve. Alice's return pulls you back from the edge of sleep. You put your hand to your clouded head, and watch as your colleagues pours wine into a clean cutting cloth. She hands you the soaked rag, and you bring it up to your face. You wince as the alcohol seeps into a cut. As the cloth is moved away, your nostrils fill with the sweet sense of a bouquet. Be more careful out there, Alice says. We need every doctor standing and to beat this plague. Noted. No more wandering headlong into strange fog, you reply. Footsteps in the hallway draw your attention towards the door. Mayor Blake sweeps into the room, a white gown trailing in her wake. The jewelry of the previous evening is no longer in evidence, but her hair is once again arranged and raised in a structure of immaculate design. She looks from the shallow puddles left by damp footsteps to the open bottle of wine by Alice's side, then brings her glare to bear upon you. "That chair," the mayor says, sinews in her neck tightening with every word, "which you are currently despoiling with your filth-encrusted robes, is worth more coin than you will ever see in your lifetime." I point out and imply that. No, I wouldn't do that. I try to apologize for damaging mayoral property. Yup, that's what I'll do. You attempt to make amends for your transgressions, insisting that you intended no harm. Despite your earnest contrition, Sybil barely pays attention. "Get out," she says in a whisper laced with fury. "Get out." That's how she says it. A stern finger points your way to the door. "All of you, pick up your things and leave. The hospitality of this house is at an end." Without a word, the three of you make your way back to your rooms to collect your belongings. Depart the mayoral manor. Yep. You look back at the manor as you trudge away from its oppressive grandeur. From a landing window on the second floor, Sybil Blake watches you leave. To the left, higher up, you think you catch a glimpse of a young Elwyn peering out from behind a silken curtain. Even in such a luxurious surrounding, you imagine him a prisoner. The fog has receded beneath the advance of the mid-morning sunlight, easing your progress back to the main town. Despite the sun's periodic resistance, a biting crosswind ensures that your robes need to be pulled tight about your body. By the time you reach the descent from Thornback Hollow's upper quarter, any facial extremities unprotected by your mask have gone numb. As you proceed down the hill, you find yourself finally provided some shelter from the bluster and roar. "Did you not find our sudden eviction a little strange?" Alice says, no longer having to shout into the wind. "Mayor Blake set me up in that parlor room, even invited me to stoke the fire. She seemed perfectly pleasant." "That was before Jack the Ripper tracked soil and water over here, her precious chair," Ioko says, disdain in his voice. "And before you raided her cellar for wine. Oof. I'd really characterize it as more of a medical necessity than a raid, but that's my point. She had no shortage of alcohol, and that chair, it was wood and cloth. Respectable handiwork, but was it truly of such high value?" "Perhaps it was an heirloom. Who knows? She was obsessed with statues and decorum. Wet clothes and uncouth behavior are like mortal wounds to those people." Let's see. Should have made the more of our time and purloined some silverware. No. Alka's right. Aristocrats would sooner protect the chair than a plate. I have some sympathy. I imagine she's rather overwhelmed by the outbreak. I don't know about that. Maybe. Perhaps I just spoiled a shrine to a curious chair deity. Getting kicked out before seeing lunch is a mortal wound to me. Yes. I say this. Getting kicked out before seeing lunch is a mortal wound to me. Next. That breakfast. Alice rubs her forearm and trails off. Lost in thoughts of salted fish. Ioko nods, making a noise of regret for a lunch never sampled. Together, the three of you descend the last set of stone steps to the base of the rise. You keep your eye on the Warrens as you pass by, but the rabbits must be keeping snug in their burrows today. As you rejoin the main road through town, Alice recalls that you were interrupted before being able to recount the tale of your morning encounter. You describe the events to her, the curious figure in thorned garb, and the fragment of parchment left behind. She listens behind her fox mask, It's time we confronted the abbot about the dweller, she says as you conclude your account. No matter his current feelings towards us, we deserve some answers. You look to the sanctuary towers in the near distance. Not far now. Sorry. Give me a bit. So to get comfortable. Your desire to converse with Abbot Quelm is met almost at once. A flustered monk intercepts your group outside the sanctuary gates and directs you inside with considerable urgency. You are led down a series of corridors, past alcoves and reverend tapestries to a set of double doors. Your guide knocks twice, bows, and departs in haste. Enter, comes the voice from inside. Ioko opens the door, and the three of you cross the threshold. Abbot Quelm stands with his back to you, facing what you presume to be a broad altar. Icons of the sage decorate its carved face, and pairs of candles stand atop the surface. The smell of oaken incense lingers on the air. You see Quelm bow his head, whisper a few words over the altar, then turn to face you. I have seen the conflagration that desecrated our dead, he says with a sigh. Your blasphemy must be addressed, and will in time. The abbot's hands are clasped tight, his old fingers woven together. My prioress, Marilda, pushed for your expulsion. I am glad I did not heed her advice, for the sanctuary still needs of your skills. We have questions too, Alice says, about the I shall answer your queries in good time, Quelm says, cutting in. You see anxiety etched into his expression, his face drawn and weary. We are in the midst of a crisis. Another influx of the walking death? Ayako asks. No, I do not believe so, the abbot says, though the manifestation is just as strange. Last night, two of our monks fell into permanent silence. They stand motionless, without speech. We can't get them to respond to anything, nor will they eat or drink. Curious, says Alice, and worrying. We'll do what we can, you say. Take your leave. You are met outside the abbot's room by his prioress, Marilda. She explains that the afflicted monks have been transferred to the basement room, in which your temporary laboratory has been established. We had to carry them down these stairs like corpses, she says, her expression troubled. I've never seen such a condition. We took precautions, of course, but if it can spread... Her voice trails off, not wishing to entertain such a thought for too long. The four of you cross the threshold into the converted beer cellar. Two hooded figures stand motionless at the far end of the room, draped in shadow. It was decided that they should face the wall so as not to cause alarm, the prioress says. Though now I see the results, I'm unsure whether this makes the matter any less disturbing. Approach the shadowed figures. With your colleagues at your side, you advanced with caution. The monks are standing upright, arms by their sides. Silent sentinels, keeping devoted watch over a blank section of cellar wall. Ioko takes hold of one of these green hoods, pulling it back with care. Unblinking eyes reside beneath. Your boar-masked companion leans in closer, holding his hand before the man's blank face. They're breathing, at least, he says. Barely. Any thoughts, Alice? You ask. She puts her hand to her head in contemplation. I'm aware of plants and infections that can cause rigidness in the body, but nothing quite like this. Sorry, Jack the Ripper. I'm at a loss. Sorry. We need to draw them back beneath the sage's canopy, Marilda says. Something has pulled them from our deity's embrace. I propose a ritual of cleansing. Immediately. Or they may simply need to convalesce, Ioko offers. Those tormented by the violence of the battlefield can withdraw into states like this. I've been witness. He pauses as if drawn briefly into the memory. Our confrontation with the walking death is not a war, but you look at the statuesque figures. Which one do I want? Let's not forgo the opportunity to study these intriguing specimens at length. These monks need compassionate care. We should keep them observation. We need them quarantined, locked away. I don't know about impurity. So let's not forgo the opportunity to study these intriguing specimens at length. Yep. We should consider this an opportunity for learning, you say. Two specimens gripped by an unusual condition, delivered right into our hands. Let's not rush to be rid of them. Specimens, Ioko says, with the verbal intonation of a raised eyebrow. Marilda appears skeptical. You sure you do not wish to attempt a ritual? Jack the Ripper is oddly gleeful in their phrasing, but they have the right of it, Alice says. If this state is in any way linked to the walking death, we need to... You feel this may be connected to the walking death, the prioress says, stepping away from the two monks in horror. If that's so, then they must be removed at once. We must house them in the sanctuary hall with the other patients. It may be connected, you try to explain. That's why but Marilda has already heard enough. The abbot has left no doubt. Those who have the walking death, if they are showing no signs of violence, are to be kept in the hall. No other exceptions. Take them away. You watch as Marilda directs a cohort of summoned monks to hoist and carry the rigid bodies of their fellow clergy. Voices echo along the corridor as they navigate their way carefully up the stairs. Aiko lifts his boar mask to scratch his cheek. Well, he says, that's done. Beside him, you see Alice shaking her head. Their seclusion is not what you envisaged, you say. I understand. Let's just get some air, she replies. Sanctuary courtyard. Come on. The three of you file out of the cellar, heading for the afternoon skies above. A cool breeze. A soft wind has found its way inside the courtyard, whipping the remaining blades of grass in all directions with short gusts. You feel it nudge your robes as you inhale the air. It runs sharp and cold inside your nostrils. Above, a small flock of birds circles one of the sanctuary towers. Their cawing reaches your ears through the breeze, distorted and obscured. Ahead, and gathered around the courtyard well, you see a scattering of monks. Barrels stand beside the stonework construction, and two of the clergy are maneuvering more off an old wooden cart. Maneuvering more off an old wooden cart. You looking to drink? Calls a woman with a missing tooth. Could be, Ioko replies. What's happening here? Water supplies, she says, gesturing at the well. Weather's turning. The well could freeze here. The well could freeze. Here, sorry. The woman hands Ioko a container. Pass it around. He lifts his mask, takes a swig, and hands the water off to Alice. She follows suit as the three of you find a spot on the lawn where the wind's attentions are less intrusive. Vicious plague, mare on our backs, trouble in the streets, and now the threat of water shortage. Ioko's laughter is coarse and bitter. Ever get the feeling this assignment is a curse? Alice finishes drinking and hands the container over to you. She folds her hands into the sleeves of her robes for warmth. I've seen worse. You just stepped outside of University Alice Fenn, Ayako says. You've seen worse? Just trying to channel what you might say, she grins. His face creases in laughter once more. It rings lighter this time. If you're looking for some cheer, she adds, we're in uncharted territory here. It's a chance to make our names improve our understanding of the craft. Those sort of things. Terrific, he says. I can hardly wait to be recalled in ballads as the boar-faced idiot who died in Thornback Hollow. Fine, misery guts. Jack the Ripper knows what I mean. Time in this town has already taught you something, right? Yes. Sure. It's taught me to get tough or to get maimed. Much can be achieved with a mask and a cold glare. I imagine my already magnificent bedside manner may have improved. I sense echoes within these walls and have attuned my ear to their words. Feels like I'm a better surgeon when we arrived. It's certainly been a stern test of my medical knowledge. I think I think this is more me. This is more of me kind of thing. Much can be achieved with a mask and a cold glare. Next. Yes, your glowering does seem much improved, Alice remarks. Before you can respond further, your conversation is halted by the arrival of another monk. He stands close at hand and looks down at the ground. His hood is pulled as low as possible, and his body appears to be trying to fold inward upon itself. You think you hear him mumble a few words. What's that, lad? Speak up, Ayako declares. The firmness in his tone makes the monk twitch even more. The abbot needs to see you. Sorry, that's what I'm supposed to say. Again, sorry. After delivering this last sentence, the monk spins on his heels and flees back inside the sanctuary building. Nervous fella, Alice remarks. Well, seems like our time in the open air is at an end, she shivers, and looks up at the afternoon sky, already turning toward evening. Gold's rolling in again. You hand the water container back to the monks tending with their barrels and join your companions in answering the summons of Theobald Quelm. Walk the corridors. You knock twice on the double doors just as you saw earlier in the day. Come in, you hear the abbot call. The three of you assemble inside the room. Abbot Quelm is seated at a narrow desk, quill still in his hand. On the surface before him, you see stacks of parchment. A further pile resides by his feet. How appropriate! I was just composing a new liturgy for those condemned to ashes by your hand. He shuffles the curled papers, finding a space to lay down his quill. We shall return to the shameful subject in due course, but I first wish to hear your report on our most immediate crisis. Between you recount details of your efforts to resolve the issue. The abbot listens in silence, expressing himself only through the periodic flick of an eyebrow or twitch around his wrinkled mouth. I see, he says as you conclude your explanations. You have plainly given the matter your full attention, and it would seem that things have quieted for the time being. For this, I thank you all. You glance again at the stack of parchment, awaiting the abbot's judgment. But now, he says, I am forced to return to your most grievous act of sacrilege. You see disappointment in his eyes, and a tremor of what may be anger in his hand. 2 of you took it upon yourselves to coerce the gravemaster into burning the bodies of our dead. Know that you did not simply consume their corpse in flames, but also stole their chance to return to the sage's soil. This heresy cannot be overlooked. We did not act with malice, Ayoko says. We knew it to be a blasphemous act, But it was done only with the intent to prevent the further spread of the walking death. And what about you? Quelm asked, looking your way. Is this to be your defense as well? Since I do not recognize the sage as a deity, I cannot have committed. The crown demands all plague victims to be burned. I followed the law of the realm. I acted in folly. I beg the sage's forgiveness. Who are you to pass judgment when you have the truth of the I don't care. Well, I stand with Hyoko. This was a medical necessity. Next. The abbot closes his eyes and sighs. As I thought, he says quietly. Doctors, I do understand your commitment to your profession, but as head of this sanctuary, I have my own principles to uphold. It is most unfortunate that, in this case, our guiding beliefs were in opposition. Alice steps forward. Now, perhaps you will hear our questions about the dweller in thorns. Where have you heard that name? The abbot asks, his face falling into a frown. In details as precise as your memory can muster, you recall your encounters with the dweller. You describe your early morning confrontation in the fog, and the vivid nature of some of your dreams. This is of grave concern, Quelm says. The dweller of thorns is a false and blasphemous idol, worshipped by a sect that rejects the embrace of the sage. I have not heard of their activities in many occasions, but if they are active again, it can bode only ill. Tread with caution if you encounter their disciples again. What exactly do they want? Alice asks. I cannot say for sure. In the past, they have been content to perform their rites out of sight, acts of desperate heresy during times of crisis. That they are now seeking to intimidate plague doctors. Sage, protect us from these idolaters. Should we be concerned for our safety? Oh shit, what the fuck? Sorry. Perhaps this sect is just misunderstood. They may have noble intent. Fortunate that I don't believe in these malevolent powers. You're hiding something. I know Sage and Dweller share a lineage. Baru. Yes. Yes. You're hiding something. I know Sage and Dweller share a lineage. This is my choice. The abbot's eyes momentarily widen. He flexes his hands and make a minimal motion in your direction. Make sure the door is closed, he says. And first, please check the hallway. Ayoko and Alice looks at one another. A half-second beat passes. She sighs and steps back to the open pair of double doors. You see her look around outside before fastening the doorway tight. Nobody out there, she says. I presume that was the concern. Abbot Quelm nods. My thanks. It is wise to preempt unwanted interruptions. He looks back at you. Now, tell me, on what grounds do you accuse me of concealing such knowledge? You relate the details found in the book you read in Mayor Blake's manor. I see, he says. A speculative tone written by an author of questionable morals. You are suggesting the connection between Sage and Dweller is pure invention, you ask? Not entirely. I will not deny there are few radical theologians who insist the Sage's history intertwines with that of the Dweller of Thorns. They speak of ancient rituals from a less enlightened time. It is my role as abbot of the sanctuary to guide our teachings away from such unpleasant lineage. So it is possible they are the same deity. I did not say that, the abbot replies, and you will never hear such heresy from my lips. He returns to the parchments on his desk. Indeed, I believe that our meetings has now run its course. But, Alice objects. Farewell, Quelm says, gesturing to the door with his retrieved quill. With grudging acceptance, you depart. Return to the laboratory. Your boots resonate against the wooden floors as you make your way back towards the cellar laboratory. All else is silent as the three of you digest the aftermath of your meeting with the abbot. Not quite the encounter I'd en- envisioned, envisaged, Alice remarks. But it seems we have the sanctuary's blessing to continue our work. Until there are none left to benefit from it, Ioko says. From where do you dredge this endless optimism? From where do you dredge this? That's actually me, I think. It's standard issue in the Crown's army, he says. Cheerful soldiers perish first. Only the mournful endure. Common knowledge. A nervous pause. Then both begin to laugh. You pass beneath the archway leading to the solid stairs. Ioko and Alice begin to descend. As you are about to follow, a passing sanctuary monk catches your arm. Come with me. There is someone you must meet. Lucia? You ask, recognizing their voice. A familiar smile flashes beneath the hood. You're not ordained. You shouldn't be wearing that. Is this going to be better use of my time than starting the plague? You're not even ordained. I will never be inappropriate. What? A spontaneous jaunt away from all this medical nonsense? No, I don't know about that. I guess I should ask this. Is this going to be a better use of my time than studying the plague? I promise you, this trip may serve your medical interest just as surely as an evening with your nose stuck in potions and books, they say. Jack the Ripper, Alice calls from lower down the stairs. Are you planning to join us? I'll meet up later, you shout back. You hear some farewells and acknowledgement as Lucia gives your arm a slap of camaraderie. Camaraderie? Camaraderie. Sorry. Very sorry. A wise and bold decision, my friend. You look them up and down, still getting used to their voice emanating from the somber gray attire of a monk. Even the green hood is a relatively dour substitute for Lucia's usual plumage. As they guide you by the arm towards the sanctuary entrance, a chilling thought strikes. Lucia, this outfit, you didn't, you know. Didn't what? They reply. Then a gasp of indignation. Kill someone for it? I'm not some common murderer, Jack the Ripper. Besides, that would leave a stain, and then what use would this disguise be? You sigh with relief. No, Lucia continues. We have costumes in the caravans. I didn't take much adapting. They grin. But thank you for the confidence in my skills and my sense of morality. In the flicker of passing candlelight, you notice that the shade of cloth is indeed slightly off. Back into the streets. You pass by a number of other oblivious monks and find yourself back in the streets of Thornback Hollow. The evening has a bite, and the clouds cover their emerging stars. Lucia ducks down an alleyway and beckons for you to follow. This isn't the way to the caravans. Where are we heading? You ask. South. The old quarter. It'll all be clear in good time. And why such secrecy? This disguise? Lucia puts a finger to their lips. Their other arm forms a line across your torso. The rounded glow of a militia torch pauses at the end of the narrow lane of which you stand, then moves on. There may not be an official curfew issued for you, Doctor, they whisper. But there most certainly is for me and others of my heritage. I don't wish to be accosted nor followed. With another wave of their hand, they instruct you to follow them out of the lip of the alleyway. You do your best to keep up in the gloom as Lucius darts through this side. Sorry, hold on. Let me just. I am just lost in thought right now. I need to get my mind clear for a bit. Hold up. Let me just take a drink of water. I apologize for the interruption. With another wave of their hand, they instruct you to follow them out of the lip of the alleyway. You do your best to keep up in the gloom as Lucia darts through side streets and slips through gaps between housing. Tiring, you insist on some brief respite. Lucia nods and points to some ruined steps leading down to a basement entrance. You huddle there against the rotting timbers of a scarred and desolate dwelling. Ready to move? Lucia asks. You signal your assent, and the two of you clamber back to the level of the streets. Backs flat to the building, you turn the corner, right into the path of an oncoming patrol. Well, well, monk in a mask out for an evening stroll. Strange part of town to find you in. Sorry. The larger of the militia peers at you through misshapen eyes. Another holds their torch so close that sparks threaten to ignite your garments. Behind them, a third armed guard limps into view, out of breath and in clear discomfort. Speak up, the taller man barks. Why are you all the way out here? Lucia dips their head, keeping the hood lower over their face. This isn't the time for a commotion. I tell them I'm a surgeon sent to look at their companion's limp. I act coy and imply we're out on a secretive tryst. I try to menace them with a dire warning. No, I think I'll go with this one. I tell them I'm a surgeon sent to look at their companion's limp. Is that so? The tall man says. It seems a little convenient. How did word of Lena's malingering even reach you? Malingering? Malingering. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not faking Fergal, Lena protests, hobbling up to the ground and taking the weight off her leg by resting on the pole of her spear. I know that's what your fancy word means. Malingin. Well, you certainly weren't in the army, Fergal says. I bloody was. Battle of Garth. Pfft. Garth doesn't even sound like a place. Shut up, the pair of you. The smaller man waves his torch around, breaking up the dispute. Not often we get aid from a surgeon. Let him to tender her, sorry. Fine, Fergal says. Keep the torch close, Nicole. Doctor will need light to see there's nothing wrong. Lena gives him a fierce look and leans herself against some fencing. With her permission, you roll up the muddied leg of her loose breeches, studying the limb beneath. Nothing stands out as damaged. You see no cuts or marks or any misaligned bones. Lena reports no pain as you press her fingertips to the skin. As I thought, Fergal says. We're wasting our time. Wait, she pleads. Pain's in the foot. It ain't the leg. Thought you always said the old battle wound was your leg, Nicole says. I never... That's just what you kept hearing. You instruct her to hold still while you get her boot off. Remove her boot. Sorry, I have other thoughts in my head and it's kind of distracting me. I'm also trying to learn how to read, properly without messing up. So, sorry for the interruption. She groans and gasps in pain as you work the leather boot free from her appendage. An unpleasant stench of sweat and infected flesh assails you. Several patches of skin have rubbed raw and bloody, but these are not the areas most offensive to the senses. Oozing pustules of yellow-black hue run along the arch of her largest toe. Ew. Fergal coughs in disgust and backs away, hand across his mouth. Nicole keeps the light of the torch on the repellent scene. Lucia watches from beneath their hood. Ugh. Don't suppose any of you stalwart members of the militia are warding off the cold with drink, you ask? Want to steady your nerves, eh? Fergal says, rolling a bottle of dubious liquid your way. Hers, perhaps, but no, it's to stop putrefaction. Ugh. You select a surgical blade and douse it with Fergal's finest beverage. This is going to be painful, you tell Lena. You may wish to bite down on something. If those gloves are leather, she gives you a fearful nod, removing the garment from her hand. The muffled screams begin the moment your blade slices through decaying flesh. Fergal pales and paces away as you peel and cut away sections of the toe. Lena's agonized instincts to pull away threatens to topple her over. Hold her! You yell. Lucia darts forward to lean to keep the thrashing patient steady. Your colleague does their best to hold Lena in place, but the constant squirms of anguish, inconsistent lighting, and your own nerves mean the surgical work is far beyond from your best. You've removed all the objectionable tissue, alongside several slivers of healthy flesh. Blood drips in constant rhythm from her mangled toe. You drench the air in Fergal's alcohol. Lena's muted cries won't be quick to leave your mind. Keep the weight off it, you instruct her, unsure if she's even able to comprehend your words. The poultice I'm about to apply won't last. The poultice, sorry, very sorry, I'm so sorry. The poultice I'm about to apply won't last. You need to cover your foot in honey or clay. Get new boots, too. I have a fair suspicion they were the cause. She gives you a vague nod, glassy-eyed and pale. The gloves drop from her mouth. You sure you're even a surgeon? Fergal says. Looks like a good chunk of her foot just wound up on the ground. I had to cut away the decay, you reply. Nicole leans across her, whisper in Fergal's ear. As the tall man listens, his eyes seem to linger on you and Lucia. He grunts. All right, you two on your way. We'll look after Lena from here. Follow Lucia once more. As the militia disappear out of sight, Lucia leads on once more. They set a fast pace, sending you sprinting across mud-soaked tracks, past startled townsfolk who'll recoil at the sight of your mask. Along empty lanes and around houses that fold in upon themselves like dying flowers. You see Lucia periodically check behind you, and you notice that more than once they have led you into an elaborate circus of the alleyways. More than once. Doubling back, abrupt turns, intricate detours. You feel your legs and lungs about to give out to exertion when Lucia finally throws up their hands as a signal to halt. In the otherwise silent lane, you hear your heart and breath thumping in your ears. You prop yourself against the shell of a building, bereft of a roof. Quick thinking back there, Lucia says, but I'm not sure we're rid of that group. They left, didn't they? You say between gulps of air. Maybe. I haven't seen them follow us. Still, we should not waste our time. You still haven't told me what we're doing, you point out. We're meeting someone. Almost there. They feel their way along the rudimentary wooden boards that construed the walls of the building, lining either side of the narrow passage. You see their hand pause. In the poor light, you can just make out a carved sigil. A hand, perhaps, though you couldn't swear to that design. Here we go, Lucia says. They raise a fist and knock with a peculiar rhythm. To your surprise, part of the wall appears to creak open, a tiny window in the solid wood. You hear a clandestine voice resonate from the inside. Password? Lepidoptera, Lucia replies. More of the wall swings wide, you ushered inside. I don't know what clandestine means, I forget. Duck beneath the doorway. You stoop under the low door, stepping into the building. The inside is no less dilapidated than the exterior. Beneath your feet, a torn and threadbare rug is cast across wooden flooring, riddled with mold. A dim glow from the upstairs room crawls over the miserable staircase below. He's up there, says the woman. He's up there, says the woman guarding the door, pointing to the stairs. She wears a voluminous cloak, but within the textile's folds you see flashes of color. The garb of the caravan. Lucia gives her a nod. Together you cross the room and navigate your way upward. The handrail has long since rotted away, and it seems the steps themselves are soon to receive the same fate. Treading with care and clasping hands to steady yourself, you manage to ascend to the floor above. By the light of a single lantern, you can tell this room was once a small attic. A low ceiling almost brushes your head. At the opposite end, you see a silhouette, a second cloaked figure, gazing out a tiny circular window. You could have chosen a more convenient location for the rendezvous, Lucia says, removing their hood of their disguise. We've been dodging the mayor's militia all night, and I almost fell through those cursed stairs. The cloak swirls as the figure turns. His flawless posture is quite at odds with his shabby location. Lucia! A beam smiles across his face. He strides forward and embraces them. And you've brought the plague doctor. Excellent. Excellent indeed. Is somebody going to tell me what this is all about? You ask. Of course, the man says. I apologize for the secretive nature of this meeting, but you will surely understand when I tell you that my name is Rochelin Couvet. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Rosalind? I don't know. I'm just going to go with Rochelin because it's cool. You've gone to a lot of trouble here, so I presume you're important. I think I met a Couvet once. She was a goat. Shrugging, looking. I probably wouldn't be able to come up with anything to say. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I'll do this. Shrugging, look confused. Of course, my dutiful Lucia has not let slip the secret of my identity. Rosalind grins and nudges Lucia's shoulder. Then it falls to me to reveal these truths. He sweeps his hand in a high arc, striking a dramatic pose. I imagine, if you will, a happy family. The father governs the town of the Thornback Hollows as mayor. His partner tends to gardens, plays host to local nobles, and raises a growing child named Rosalind. I don't know you, man. The man's face grows sour. But there is another actor in our performance, a scheming, jealous woman named Sybil Blake, passed over for a role over the Committee for Trade. She grows angry, resentful. Rosalind's hand forms a fist, which he pounds into his palm. This vicious harridan poisons the mayor and his family, seizing the position as her own. But the child escapes, smuggled from the town by these loyal to the Couvet name. Smuggled by the town by those loyal, sorry. He makes a wide motion, drawing his hand from one point to another. The child is sent abroad, where he finds maturity in a new land, a new culture, yet still he pines for his birthright. When he has gathered the means to do so, he returns to the town inside a caravan of theatrical players, ready to avenge his blood. Oh. That's why I brought you here. You can aid us, Lucius says, their voice eager. We had thought the plague would stymie our ambitions, but as a doctor you can move freely between districts, speak to whomever you please. You can rally loyalists to Couvet's side. Assuming that is, we can trust you. Rosalind puts his hand to his hips. Where his cloak is held away from his tunic, you see the ornate handle of a dagger. You glance over at Lucia, hoping that the nascent bond between you will extend to their employer. I have no love for Sybil Blake. The town's needs leadership. If you are committed to ending this plague as I, there is our bond of trust. If you are committed to ending this plague as I, there is our bond of trust. When your caravan was threatened, I have compassion to act. My character cannot be in doubt. Family drama, covert schemes, count me now. I mean, insult, but my loyalty lies elsewhere. I guess right here, this is probably something I would probably say. If you are as committed to ending this plague as I, there's our bond of trust. He smiles and looks towards Lucia. How like a physician to respond in this manner. You have seen the false mayor's response to this crisis, have you not? You nod. And the monks of the sanctuary, have they already agreed with your methods? If I know the strictures of this land's deities, I suspect you desire more freedom to implement your medical will. Freedom you would have in abundance once I am mayor. The man who would be mayor spreads his arms in welcome, almost spanning the breadth of the attic. Lucia wears a relieved smile. The first fabrics of trust are woven, Rosalind says. Do not misunderstand me. I am aware we are far beyond blood-sworn allies, but I sense that you are someone who will weigh my designs on the mayoral seat with a fair mind. For now, that is all I ask of you. As you are about to respond, you hear a hoarse, urgent whisper from below. Sabelina. No. That's not it. Sabelina, Rosalind says, peering down the stairs. What is it? Militia! The militia are here! No longer at her post by the hidden doorway, Sabelina is waving everybody down with a frantic motion of her arm. Descend with care. Ooh, achievement, mysterious outsider. Gain the trust of Rosalind Cuvée. Wow. Taking care not to invite disaster of the worn and frail stairs, the three of you descend to the floor. Halfway down, you see a glow of torches casting light through the outline of the building's main door. Lucia motions for you all to stay low. Distorted voices warn through the wooden exterior to reach your ears. I seek calm, reaching out for assistance from the deities. No. Urge Rosalind and Sabelina to stay back while Lucia and I talk to the militia. I use my strength to hold the door closed, hopefully they'll move on. I think I'll go with this one. Urge Rosalind and Sabelina to stay back while Lucia and I talk to the militia. Boop. We saw them off before, you whisper. Let me talk to them. Keep back. With Lucia at your side, you push open the front entrance with an air of nonchalance. Two heads turn towards the noise. Torchlight finds its way up your robes. Halt! Who's there? The woman holding the torch waves it closer. Deities, you look like a fright in that thing. Fergal warned us there was a mask skulking about tonight. Just performing my medical duties, you reply, spreading your palms for emphasis. Interesting, she says. But let's say I don't quite believe you. Let's say I think you're hiding something. Brenna, check the building. These two won't give me any trouble. No bother, her colleague replies. He strides forward. Beside you, Lucia shifts. You give a slight shake of your head. Brennar shoulders his way past you both, entering the building. You hear heavy footfalls as his boots clomp around the wooden door. Floor. It's floor. Why did I say door? Sorry. Looks empty, Zana, he calls. Just a rug and silence. And what, Brenna? Zana shouts back. She waits, holding up the flickering torch. No reply. All right, she says, starting to pace in the mud. All right, you two are going in ahead of me. Move. She draws a short sword with her free hand. I said move. What up, Timothy? How'd it go? Sorry. I'm being very awkward right now. I see people come by and like watch, and it distracts me, and then my reading completely freaks up. So it's like kind of hard to get back into the story sometimes because I need to learn how to get through that and be able to read things calmly and properly. Um, I don't do much reading. mm, Now where was I? Ah, right here. You hear heavy footfalls as his boots clump around the wooden floor. It's me. I'm the one who told you about the update. Yeah, no. Wait a minute. Yeah, I know. Little Tim Tim, you have a different name on PlayStation, and I don't know why. Looks empty, Xana, he calls. Just a rug and silence. And, oh, this is where I left off. Right. Oops. You enter first. In the corner of the room, you see an unmistakable shape. Sprawled. Diseased. Brenna, what the... The soldier's exclamation is brief. Lucia's hands send her tumbling. Her torch clatters, stamped out in haste. You hear a short scuffle, the choking gasps of the dying. There are footsteps on the floorboards, passing figures, a hand on your shoulder, pulling you back outside through the doorway. Lucia, Rosalind says, escort our guests back to the sanctuary. Sibylline and I will take the long route back to the caravans. Make haste. Go. Oh, wow. All right, catch your breath. You pause for breath beside an abandoned cart. The contents have long since been taken by scavengers, but enough of the frame has survived for you to lean upon. Beside you, Lucia looks to the sky. I'm sorry, Jack the Ripper, they say. There was not supposed to be bloodshed. Rosalind has no quarrel with the townsfolk. Hmm. Well, it's better them than us. I actually don't apologize. Circumstances left us no choice. No, I think it's this one. Better them than us. But oh, I suppose that's so, Lucia says, nodding. Together you rally yourselves for the rest of the journey back to the sanctuary. It proves to be tense, yet uneventful. No other patrols cross your path, and before long, you are standing by the entrance archway, beneath two now familiar oak towers. Listen, Lucia says. I regret that our meeting was cut short in unpleasant fashion, but I've been Rosalind's hired sword for some time now. I believe in his instincts and his ambition. With your medical talents and his guiding hand, this town may have a chance of survival. They adjust the hood of their robes and smile at you. You took a risk accompanying me tonight. Stop by the caravan tomorrow morning, if you'd like. I believe we work well together. You thank them for the kind words and bid them farewell. Enter the sanctuary. You pass through the entrance archway with a mind to seek out Ioko or Alice, but the hour is late and the cellar laboratory lies still and deserted. A book sits open on one of the benches. You try to skim over the text, but the only light comes from the torches in the hallway outside, and you find your eyes growing weary and strained almost at once. Sorry. Returning to your own room, you see Alice approach from the other end of the corridor. She clutches a roll of parchment. Her fox mask looks up at you. Jack the Ripper, she says. Where have you been all evening? I relay a condensed version of my travels. I keep Gouvet's skins to myself. I tell her everything, might as well. But you give Alice every detail you recall from the evening. She listens with polite interest, but seems preoccupied. Oh, whack. Secret meetings, secret mares. I must say, you do live a fascinating life. You weren't even interested, though. She holds up the parchment. But remember, we have a plague to cure. Come and see me by tomorrow morning. I have something I wish to share with you. Oh, I believe Ayoko said he was looking for you too. Opening the door to your room, you bid her a good night. Inside, your bed makes irresistible overtures. You've just enough energy to put off your boots and set your mask aside before giving in to its limited comforts. Your dreams are unsettling and wild. Like all dreams, they dissipate. Ah, and so ends chapter 5. That means that this is the end of the stream. I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed if you did. I will be continuing this probably at midnight over Pacific Standard Time for the next chapter, chapter 6. But sorry, I am just preoccupied through this whole time. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll get to see you in the next one. Later. Bye.